Oh, Thomas Hardy, why are you like this? Let's get to it. Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a 1001 book countdown for you. If you're not familiar with the 1001 book countdown, I will leave a card up here for you where you can go check out the original video where I talk about all of the details about my incredibly massive project. But basically I'm reading books off of the 1001 books you must read before you die list and slowly making my way through it. It is definitely a large project. I recognize it's going to take me probably another 15 years to make my way through it if I keep reading at my current pace. So yeah, hopefully you consider giving me a subscribe and seeing how far I make it on this amazing journey. I am having a lot of fun and have discovered some favorites off of that list, which has been great. I do have to take breaks up from it occasionally though. But for today, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put up the numbers, which I am going to have on this side and point on this side. And the first number is 924, which is what I have left off of the list. If you're not familiar, what I did is I took all versions of the 1001 book list and combined them together, which gave me around 1,315 books. I've read well over 300. I have 900 and something left, but 924 is what I have left from when I started my channel last year. I'm working my way from that number. So the second number is 29, which is my 2022 number. So every year at the beginning of the year, I pre-select 52 books, one for each week of the year, with that being the goal of what I would like to accomplish reading in the year. 29, it is July 15th when I'm recording this. I am definitely behind because I should be half the year would have put me at 26 books left, and I'm 2 weeks in. I should be at 24. So yeah, I'm definitely behind. But let's go ahead and start talking about the books. All right, so the first book that I'm going to talk about is The House of Ulloa by Emilia Pardo Bazan. This book was originally published in 1886 in Spanish. It was first translated into English in 1990. This is the only book by this author on the 1001 list. This author lived from, I believe, 1851 and 1921, somewhere around that time frame, and lived primarily, from what I could tell, in Spain. So this book follows a character named Father Julian Alvarez. Sorry, I had to look at his last name. I couldn't remember. He is a very pious priest who is charged with going to the manor of Ulloa to be able to get their house in order, their accounts in order, and let's just say it doesn't go well. Right from the beginning, it's chaos at Ulloa. Everything from a child who is unruly, who they treat really weirdly, to a maid who makes advances on the father, to accounts that are just in complete and total disarray, to a caretaker of the manor who is very overbearing and has very big opinions about his daughter, all of these different pieces. It is chaotic and weird and just a very strange novel. There were parts in it that made me laugh. There were parts of it that were super confusing that I didn't necessarily connect with as much. Unfortunately, this is the book that I was reading when I got sick. So I read the first half of it kind of right around the end of June, and then I didn't pick it up again until almost a week and a half later. So some of the details in it, had my sickness brain fuzziness of it, but it was one that I kind of just put in the middle of the rankings. I was really happy to have a female author on the list, a work of translated fiction as well on the list, which was great. But the book was just kind of okay. It's one that I would consider rereading without an illness, hopefully, and see if I feel any different about it. But I really like the character of Julian, but it does kind of end in a way that's definitely ends in kind of tragedy. So I won't say what, because of course I don't want to spoil the book. But this book takes us from, I have to look at the back because that's where I have the numbers written down, 924 to 923, and it is on my 2022 list, so that number gets to go from 29 to 28. Okay, so now I'm only, 4 books behind, but I do have another book for you, and this one I have a lot more to say about, and this book is Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. So this particular version of this book, if I look at who published it, I can't remember. This is an Easton Press edition. I would like to talk about this edition briefly before I dig into the book. This book is probably one of the most beautiful books. It is hefty. It is bound in leather. It is so well constructed. I absolutely adore this edition. It has gold edging on it. It also has really amazing just illustrations throughout the book. And of course, did I mark one for you? So just illustrations in it, and it's just absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely edition. And I did read from this edition because the pages were nice and hefty. But still somewhat floppy. It was beautiful. I really want to search out more of the Easton Press editions because I was thoroughly impressed with this one. Absolutely gorgeous book. Okay, so Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. This book was originally published in 1895 and is one of his last, if not his last novel. Hardy's an interesting author because Hardy has 7 books on the 1001 book list, which I think is excessive for any author to have that many books. It's one of those things I wish we had a little bit more diversity in there. Do all 7 Hardy novels deserve to be on that list? I don't know, but it's something I wish that there was a bit more diversity in there and they wouldn't have so much representation for a single author. I think the author with the most on the list is actually Dickens, if I were to go look. So for this particular book, though, this is actually my second Hardy that I have read off of the list. I have read Tess of the D'Urbervilles, and I have one more scheduled for this year, which is Far from the Madding Crowd. So I am a little familiar with Hardy. This follows a character whose name is Jude Fowley. Fowley, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce the name. I read this. I didn't listen to it, so I didn't get the pronunciation that normally sometimes comes with the audiobooks. But this one starts with Jude as a younger man with a teacher who is going away to Christminster, I think that's what it was, to teach and to learn. And he has these grand ideas that he will also go and do that when he's grown. But he gets to a certain age, and of course, women are introduced to Jude, or Jude is introduced to women, and he just makes all kinds of just really, really interesting and somewhat horrible choices in who he marries and where he travels, how he lives. He just is a troubled character who is easily swayed by the women in his life. And the reason why in the intro I was like, oh, Thomas Hardy, why are you like this? Is because these relationships and these women are just really bad. Bad for Jude, bad for the women. It is just something that I was reading along it just going, oh, why are you making that choice again? Why, Jude? And Jude is an interesting character who I really was enjoying reading about. And as I was going through, just like, again, some of the choices he made that got him a little bit ostracized, he and his kind of, one of the women in his life. And yeah, so but it was one of those books that was so easy to read. I did read it with Kristen from Enter the Book, and we had lovely conversations. If you're not familiar with Kristen's channel, I will leave her linked in the description below. You should absolutely go check her out. But we had a lot of fun discussing this. The one thing with this too, though, is that there comes a point in this book where a tragedy happens in here, and it was so shocking and so abrupt that it was almost a little bit off-putting. That I get why it was there for the reasons of the story, but it was so shocking and so heartbreaking as well, and kind of just out of left field that it was a little bit, like I said, off-putting. It was a really good book. I kind of predicted a little bit of what the ending was going to end up like. Hardy doesn't necessarily have happy ending books from what I have read so far, and this one was much the same out of that. It very much stayed along that same kind of just depressing, it just down on a lot in this book. I got the feeling too, he didn't have a very high opinion of women, at least with how he was writing them in his novels, but it was one that I thought was super tragic and sad, and in some ways just vastly entertaining. It reads a lot like a major soap opera. just drama all over the place in this book. So I ended up giving it around 3.5 stars, mainly because that traumatic event that's in there really just was, like I said, so off-putting. So, but I think I liked it better than Tess of the D'Urberville. So I'm excited to try Far From the Madding Crowd this year and see what I think of that one. I do also have to read The Mayor of Casterbridge, but it won't be this year. So yeah, I'm trying to spread it out, Hardy out a little bit, because whew, he's a lot. He's a lot to read. But with this book, we get to go from 923 to 922, and it was on my 2022 list, so we're going from 28 to 27. So I'm really only 3 behind. That's not horrible. However, some of the books that I'm reading now off of the list are, you know, the big book summer challenge books. But the first one that I have in progress is, of course, Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I am now about 4 chapters, and I'm just starting to get to know Fanny, starting to get to know Mrs. Norris, who's a very vile character in this book so far. So that is one that I have in progress. I hope to read this next week and have it as a countdown for next week. And then the next book that I have actually started is one of the big book summer classic ones, which was Kristen Lavransdatter by Sigrid Undset. As you can see here, I have my bookmark in it. I am buddy reading this with my friend Sonia, and we are reading 1 book per month for the next 3 months. And I read the first part of the first book, and I'm in love with this book so far. I am really, really enjoying it. I'm just waiting for Sonia to catch up to me before I read more of it. I hope the rest of this book goes as well as the first book. The first part of the first book, because I really want to pick this one up pretty much all the time now. And so the last book that I'm considering picking up right now is actually Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. This isn't a very long book, and so it's one that I'm hoping I can fit in and catch up. If I could have 2 books on the countdown for the next couple of weeks, that would be magnificent. But those are the ones that I really have in progress. I also rearranged some things on my bookshelf. If you look right here, this right here, this is everything that's on the rest of the books on my 2022 list. So I did shift those around last week. I recorded the mid-year book freakout tag and went to edit it and hadn't turned on my microphone, and I had already put away all the books, but that's one of the things I did get to do. So as you're watching my videos, you may see these books go down as I read them. So very excited to have a little bit more organization. I really want to go through and redo like all of that, but that's a big project. It feels like I'm rambling now. Anyway, so that's the end of the countdown. That's what I've read. That's what I'm working on. So happy to have made at least a little bit of progress on the countdown. And yeah, I'm excited for the rest of the reads that I have in July. August, I'll be camping, so my TBR will be light. But that's what I have for you for today. So as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.